again for another stream. We are working on the pool game still, and I finished all the balls. So let's take a look at those. Looking pretty sharp. And I made it to where we can hit this cue ball. It's like a real game of pool. But you see some of the balls are still going into each other, so that's a no-no. And then there's some stuff with the game logic we'll have to correct too. Like that right there. I think I've identified the first thing that I need to do though, as rearrange some of this. First of all of these objects probably just need to be in my assets. So let me create a new folder here after I do a commit. Should probably get the YouTube chat. No, this is not made for kids. This is made for adults. Adults who care about this kind of stuff. There we go. Don't want to leave anybody out. Whoever wants to join, that's cool with me. There we go. Alright, so I need to get some stuff moved around, starting with all these balls. So let's make a new folder called balls. And let's just put all the ball objects in there. All right. Then in the ball class, it's going to be assets balls / ball. And let's make sure we're still running. Yeah. Balls are still good. Balls look great. Good stuff. Go ahead and revert the aspect ratio too, because I don't want to cover up the chat. Lord knows I need a good chat. Alright, so that was on main. Just gotta flip these around. And make sure that's still in the same spot. Oh. What have you done? Oh, it just... okay. Discard the modified line. Alright. What was it? I missed what it was. I'll just copy the rest of the file. It's not that big. Copy it onto a notepad, which you can't see. Gravity down. And then I just revert insert the file. How about that? There it is. There we go. Good as new. Ah, almost. So, a lot of things to add. But first, I'm going to commit all of this. I'm just going to say a lot of changes. I was doing a lot of playing with Blender and object stuff, and honestly, there is a lot in there. I'm going to continue the organizational trend, and I'm going to move some of my textures into a textures folder. So let's do new folder, texture. And the textures that I have are these. This one I don't need. This was going to be a background, but I ended up doing a skybox instead. This one also was not a successful background. Pool felt is a texture. Move that into textures. Or texture. Room is technically a texture. And wood is a texture. However, I'm not currently using it. I'm using cherry wood. Alright, so I have cherry wood, pool felt, and room. So I'll start by searching for cherry wood. And here I'll replace it with assets, texture, cherry wood. The next one I moved was pool felt. It's going to be on the same page. And I'm just going to copy this from right up here and save that. Next one is room, which is on main right now. Room. And I already have it copied, so I'll just paste it. Let's check everything still works. Yeah. Looking good. So that's going to be a commit for move textures. I have assets table. I'm not sure I'm using that. Let's do it quick. Okay, we do have this, and it's the tabletop. So the tabletop right now is right there, and then the pool table is outside of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my pool table into assets table. All right, so pool table, that's going to be an assets table now. And that's as far as the assets go. I think that takes care of organizing them. So that'll be another commit. Pool, move pool table. Move pool table. All right. And let's just see. Balls. Got all the balls there. Alright. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be organizing the game logic. Because right now I'm running into this problem where I'm syncing a ball and it's not transferring to the game portion, because the game portion right now is in main. And the way that you're supposed to organize this is you're supposed to import things into main, not necessarily import things out of main, or at least I don't think that's good practice. So the things that we need to move out of here are update 15 ball triangle and place cue ball. And so we're going to create a new game class for that. So we need a new file, and we'll call it game.py. But we could even be more specific and call it billiards.py. First thing we need to do is just move these functions, place cue ball, and arrange 15 ball triangle into there. And this could be a util class where we just have transient functions. I'm fine with that because we would just really need to export a few globals that we would need to reference from here and there. But we'll get into it. We'll see right now that we have a couple of globals right here, rack offset and physical entities that are coming from other modules. So right now we need these. Gravity is pretty much a physics thing, but I'll leave it here for now. These will go here. Cue ball and rack offset. And then I need to import from physics. Physics, util, physical entities. And the part where it's actually placing the cue ball right here, I think I'm going to wrap that in a function. Or I can just export from here. Yeah, I guess that's going to be the quickest way to do it. Okay. So now we have the functions that are moved into the billiards class. Let's quickly check and see if it still runs or if we have some kind of issue. We do have an issue. Ball is not defined, and I think that's going to end up being on the billiards class. So we should just be able to import ball. Let's see. Vec3 is not defined. Also in the billiards class. So we just need to import that from Ursina. Great. Oh, I scratched on the first one, and I have nothing to do when that'll be the next thing we do. Okay. All right, so this is a good organizational step that we've done here. Let me out of here, please, for the love of God. All right, close that again. Hope that's okay. Oh, scary. Should really update that picture. Let me do that real quick. Keeps going back to that old picture. It's gonna make my stream look bad. Print screen. Good job. Oh, but where did my screenshot go? I'll have to use the good old Control-Alt print screen. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Control-Alt print screen. Alt F4. MS Paint. Perfect, actually. Save it as SS Wood. Then in OBS. Properties. Pictures. SS Wood. There it is. There we go. Now people will know what they're in for. And know what kind of thing that they're getting. Okay. So, there's a save on the billiards class. Alright, we're still running. Still rocking and rolling. Come on, dude. Get a hold of yourself. There we go. Oops. Alright. This is a good commit, so I'm going to commit move billiards logic. Not quite a class. I've named it like a class. I'll have to fix it if it ends up not being a class. I don't see a good reason to use a class right now. I'm trying to be objective here and not be a class fanboy. OOP and fanboy. I've already got some classes here that make sense to me. But, you know, as far as the actual game logic goes, I mean, it can be transient. Why not? It's simple. So, in billiards, we've got place cue ball. And what's happening right now is in physical entity, we have a function called sync, but that's not really a thing that happens with, I mean, it does physically sync, but I think what we want is to import a function from here that says sync ball. Wait, sorry. In billiards. Not ball, not table. Also, I think that it should be on something other than physical entity, but since this is a pool game, it's fine. Balls are really the only physical entity that there is. So I you know, what's the need for the abstraction? I don't know. Maybe in the future I want to include a chalky thing. I don't know. Who knows? The pool cue will probably be something other than a physical entity. It'll be a weapon that you can wield. It has nothing to do with the actual physical entity. So, in billiards, we're going to define a function for syncing a ball. Oh, this is way too much. Alright, so let's think about the entire game. There's players, there's two players. So, I mean, there can be, this is a two-player game. So there's two players. And so we have a player 1 score and a player 2 score. And each player is corresponding to a color. And the first state of the game is that it's anybody's game. And so we'll say player 1 color, or player 1, what do you call it? The difference between stripes and solids. Player 1 ball equals, so let's have ball types, and we'll have Q solid stripe, and there's no type called black, but actually there is type black. That's right, yeah, because it's anybody's ball. So ball type black does actually make sense. Player 1 ball, let's go ahead and spell that right. Equals ball types 1. That's not correct. Also, I want it to be an enum. How do we make it an enum? Whatever. I'll just make it a string. This is Python after all. Cue ball. Player ball. I mean, ball type Q equals 0. Ball type solid is 1. Striped. Alright. And then ball type none equals 4. We'll make it look very old school game. Well, it'll be an homage to old school games where they used globals for enum types. That's going to be a pain in the ass to export, but I think I only need it internally, is the point. So the cue ball type Q, yeah, that's a little confusing, but I'll leave that because I think I do need to initialize that as a 0. I'll just put a comment on it. Initialized. Not the same as ball type Q. I understand how that'd be confusing. I don't want to confuse anybody. Let's make that a little bigger, maybe. Yeah, it looks a little better. Okay. Bigger even. Alright. So what do we got here? We got the ball types here. Sync ball. And now that we got the ball types, it should be good. I don't like how it defines globals in here. Q ball equals ball type Q. No, listen, no. Alright, the first thing we're gonna check is if the if player 1 ball equals ball type none, and here, let's put this in its own little definition here. Def game, let's see, ball not set, and ball, no, that's not it. Ball not set is going to be a transient function that tells us if the player 1 ball is equal to ball type none and the player 2 ball is also equal to ball type none. So that's the first thing that we're going to set here. Check here. If ball not set but I think that there are other like terminating factors, like the absolute end of the game every time is if ball num is what, 7. I think that there's something in the ball class that needs to be in this game logic class. Hey, thank you for the love. So the textures, we don't need any of these textures anymore. The rack is probably something that we'll need elsewhere, but I think it's listed as a dependency. I don't really want to move it right now. Textures, we also don't need textures. We'll go ahead and commit the ball class as a, we have a default texture. They're all just listed. I don't think I need default texture anymore. I don't have that asset. Ball 0 is my cue. Okay. Assets ball, that looks good. So I'll commit that as a separate thing, and that'll be just clean ball. Clean ball class. Okay. Ground level is probably something that needs to go elsewhere as well. But other than that, I'm just simply mapping the number to the object that I have named correspondingly. So in this logic, I have 0 as the cue, 1 as the 1, etc., etc. So if ball.ballNum is 8, then this is the 8 ball. And this is going to end the game no matter what. So end game. Yeah, game over, but let's see. Set game winner to 0 initially, and then here, oh, in end game, we'll check who. Let's see, we need another variable here. Current player. Let's see what determines the current player in pool. I think the person who won last is the current player, but we can initialize that to 0. Let's see, player ball. Ball type none. Player. Let's see, player, it's either going to be 0 or 1. And player 1 ball will be set to this. I'm thinking about a lot of if statements here. I'm thinking that this should be a dictionary. Or a type, a player type here. If I have a player class. If I have a class of players. And the player has ball type. Oops. Oh, come on. Accidentally closed out of Visual Studio. There it is. I don't know what. There we go. Ball type 0. And what? Player name? No. What else does a player have? So is player turn? I don't think that's right. I think that's a this or that between the two. I don't think I need a class for this. I really don't. Current player. There's 2 players. 0 or 1. And this is the only thing I think that just make this into an array. Player ball types. We'll just make them into ball type none both to start. Current player is 0. That way it will index by the array. Real MKB. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just trying it out. Somebody recommended streaming in this aspect ratio. But I was thinking of turning it 90 degrees because it actually works better for both screens. I mean, you can turn your phone, but you can't turn your computer screen most of the time. All right. So the player ball types are going to start out to ball type none. So that means I need to change this function. Return. I'm sure that there's a nicer way to do that, but even on my phone, if I turn the screen, it goes to a different mode and not full screen, so don't work on PC or phones. Oh, that's a bit of a problem. Let me see, hold on. Oh, well, I'm using my phone to record it. Hold on. I'm not sure if I can change it live here. It's gonna mess things up. Yeah, it's locked me in. I'll get them next time. You're saying it doesn't even work on your phone? That's disappointing. No wonder nobody's watching. Your phone, what do you... What kind of phone are you using? So... Current player. Current player. Player ball types current player equals Yeah, that's it. Else, it's gonna be the other guy. Pretty much, that's pretty much a universal rule in the game of pool. If you ain't the 8, you lose. LOL. Cheap as hell, Android. I am never more than 2 foot away from the PC, so phone is literally to put in the pocket when I run and listen to live music and receive phone calls. Very fair. For mine, it's also a camera, and it's the best camera that I own personally. My wife has a DSLR camera, but she doesn't let me use it. And this one is a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. Yeah, whichever is the nicer model. And I got it refurbished, and I spent about $330 American on it. A mirrorless Canon. Yeah, I saw your streams. Your streams look beautiful and sound beautiful too. What kind of microphone are you using? Oh, I'm sorry. I was confusing you with the other guy. Right? Yeah, I was confusing you with the other dude. What was the other guy's name? Yeah, that's embarrassing. I apologize for that. Yeah, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. My bad, dude. Alright, so if you ain't the 8, you lose. Because the only time we're calling endgame is on the 8, but there's another time actually. So I think I'll define 2 functions for endgame. Good morning from the States. Like the music, bro. Thank you. I actually made this music. This music is my music, and I tried to use music that was royalty free, and it ended up being trash eventually. Like there was a playlist that was just a lot of bad languages on it. This one that I have here that I love is the MXL 990, and I spent about, I don't know, like I want to say $70 on it back in the day, 8 years ago, and I like it a lot. It has a good amount of depth and PR-esque. It's not just about who is the 8. And if the current ball that we sank is the cue ball, then we have the potential to end the game. And I think we need to keep track of the game turn. I mean, that's the most simplest way to do it, I'm sure. So in the game turn, this doesn't exactly work. We'll call this endgame 8 ball. And then another one will be endgame scratch. Because you can end the game by scratching on the break. Endgame scratch. And that's pretty simple. If the game winner is going to be the other player. So we'll do that right here. If ball number is 0, then we'll check another one here. If ball not set, that's not correct. If game turn equals 0, just simply end game scratch. And we don't have any game turn logic right now, but we'll bake that in. So if the game turn is 0, we'll end game with a scratch. Then pretty much everything else will be this right here, what we were trying to do. If ball not set, now if you sink the 8 ball on turn 0, you do also end the game. So let me think about that for a second. I think that means that you are initialized with ball type 8. Yes. But there's a couple of other things too. Like you get to keep going. You don't switch player until the end of your turn. So your turn will continue if you sink a ball. So this is a function that will be called by a greater, turn function. My turn. Game, iterate the game. So if the ball is not set, then the ball number is 8, but that's already been called up here, so it's not possible. I gotta get rid of that. This should be returned. We should return out of here because we're done at this point once we end the game. No reason to continue. Let's see. Ball number is 0 or is 1. I think that this is we need a function, just a little function here. Def is let's see, ball type on a ball. Right. So there we can get ball type 8, Q, solid, and striped. We can dereference the num to the ball type simply. And instead of doing these comparations right here, we can just do ball type up here. Equals ball type. And then we can have more readable code right here. Makes more sense to read. If game turn equals 0. If ball not set, this is on sinking a ball. So once we're sinking a ball, what we want to do is we want to set that ball as our player type. So we'll just set the player ball type, the array that we had to current player, to ball type. All right. Getting a little bit cumbersome on this class, but that's okay. So end game 8 ball, end game scratch. There's a little bit of a logical diversion here that I may want to get into, moving around or whatever. But the next one I want to do is figure out how we can make this more iterative. So while the cue ball is moving, we don't want this player to be able to do anything. Once they've done their hit, they should only be able to they should only be able to hit it once. There's no sense in whacking it more than one times after it's already been hit. So we need to know in this particular event if the ball is moving, if the cue ball is moving. So over there in the game logic, we'll have a Boolean. Ball's moving. All right, ball's moving is going to be equal to false. Now, in this instance, when we hit this, the first thing we're going to check, well, we're going to have to import more from here. And I hope I can break this up because it's getting pretty cumbersome. First thing we'll check here is if not ball's moving, then we'll be allowed to hit the ball. But really, there's going to be another check there further down the line when we actually introduce multiplayer. But for now, as one player, the game logic will iterate through the player and the background, and then we'll be able to rewire that simply. But I'm thinking about rewiring it in the future, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of challenges we see with having to do that. You know, is this the time for planning right now? Maybe. We'll find out. We'll find out. Okay. So some of the game logic, but none of it implemented yet, really. So for balls moving, what we're going to need to do is we're going to go into the actual physical element and where we have this iteration sort of bringing the physical universe together, what we should do is we should set balls moving to false at some point. I don't think it's here actually. It's something that we should do at the end of this loop. If any of these come up, if all of these come up to be false, then we should set it to false. Otherwise, we should set it to true. If any of them set to true, then balls moving is going to be set to true. But it needs to be probably in here. We want it to happen one time. So what sets the balls in motion is going to be this throw function, which is going to be on a physical entity. I think we can get a little bit more specific with that as to actually what's happening. And that's something that we should encapsulate in our game class. and we'll call this hit cue. I'm gonna change it to the left mouse down as well. And it's gonna get more sophisticated in terms of the controls, but for now this is what it will be. And that's gonna be yet another function that we have in our billiards class. Which is starting to become pretty crazy. Alright, so we'll go hit cue ball in our billiards class. We're going to require something imported, I think. Global balls moving. Yeah, we're going to require this imported. Or no, we have that here. I don't like the idea. I'm not a big Python guy, to be honest. I don't know why you would define globals right here. I don't know. I don't know what that would do. But I do like the idea of having the balls moving set here, because that's hitting the cue ball is the initial action in the game, and that sets the balls in motion. I'm very cool with having it there. Game turn plus equals 1. That's something that should happen after the game, after the balls stop moving. So let's make another function called balls have stopped. This is what we're calling when we already have determined that the balls have stopped. So when the balls have stopped, game turn will iterate. There's no need for that. That's really all I have so far. Game turn, and then we'll check the balls sank will be done separately. We can set a global, another global here for balls sank during turn, and that will work. Yeah, there's some stuff missing here, but right now we'll just iterate the turn, and yeah, it looks like we do need to determine whether or not balls were sank during the turn, and you know, whether or not it was a fault. If it was a fault, or the balls were sank during the turn, then we will have to move on. So there's a fault severity that we have to account for. Fault severity, ball in hand, fault severity scratch, fault severity miss, And I would just say that those are probably backwards. Fault severity miss is low. Fault severity foul. Fault severity break. I'm not sure what that means. A foul is, so if you miss the ball, then, I mean, that's the same level of severity as it's a foul. Fault severity scratch is like ball in hand, I think. So maybe just 2. Turn fault severity equals 0. And then game turn equals 0. Turn fault severity equals 0. Turn, that's really all we need. If the turn fault severity is 0, then, well, turn can continue. Set that to 0 by default. Only if you are able to sink a ball are you allowed to continue your turn. So back over here. When we hit the cue ball, ball's moving, balls have stopped. If turn can continue, then we'll return, else not that. I would like to see the game ended after the balls have stopped. I think that that would be a good place to move this. I don't know. Would it be better for the game to end after the ball has sank, like immediately, like wah wah wah, or like you just wait for all the other balls to stop moving? I think it would be nice if it was just consistent, and you were waiting for the balls to end, stop moving every single time. So I think I'm going to executively decide to put it in balls have stopped. So once the balls have stopped, that's when we're going to end the game. And then during the sinking, we'll be assigning the turn fault severity. And we'll give it a new turn fault severity of end game. Lose game. Let's see. So when we do this, if balls lose game, and this will be when we're like determining what gets shown next. So should it be lose game or end game, and then we'll determine in the end game function who lost the game. But I mean, we're not calling it turn disposition. Turn disposition. Turn disposition foul. I like the term turn disposition better. Turn disposition scratch. Disposition win game. Then we can use it to encompass winning the game as well. That's what I like about it. Severity sounds like something else. Turn disposition is 0. I'll set turn disposition none to 0. Okay. Just for the sake of obsessing over names. So now we don't have that. Turn disposition equals turn disposition win game. And we'll just have a separate function win game. Lose game. Yeah, I like the way that this is going. Okay, so we have win game, lose game, foul, scratch, yada, yada, yada. And then let's go ahead and just pass up the sync ball function real quick. And let's go ahead and go down here to the balls have stopped function and hit cue ball. So this is all the different turn functions. Next turn. Here we have if turn can continue, we return. Which I think that we want to return true. Or no, we've already determined that the balls have stopped. So we're not changing anything in next turn. So next turn would be the opposite of that. And these printings are probably going to be good. I'm probably going to need that. Win game. And yeah, printing is fine for now. Let's just print them up. Let's print up everything. All right. How do I get rid of this? All right. So now where we passed up that sync function, we're going to need to a little bit of logic in here. Probably derived from this. I guess I can't uncomment that. I'm not sophisticated enough. Well, only one thing to do. Just pretend like it didn't happen. Alright. This is obviously going to stay. The ball type is going to be dereferenced to this nice little enum that I have. Ball type Q8, solid or striped. So, first thing is, if ball type is ball type ball type black. Or is it 8? Then we're going to end the game every time. And the balls have stopped. So this is not end game 8 ball. This is set end game 8 ball. Okay. Because we're going to set it when we sink, but then we're going to actually end the game later when the balls have stopped. That's the difference between what we're doing and what we're about to do. So, in our set endgame 8 ball, then what we're going to do turn disposition. No. If you ain't the 8 ball, you lose. Is that right? If you're not equal to ball type 8, turn disposition equals turn disposition, lose game. Else, turn disposition equals turn disposition, win game. Is that a universal? Yeah. That's pretty universal. It's pretty universal. But I'm going to keep it like that. This is set endgame 8 ball. Let's do set endgame scratch. I mean, at that point, we're just gonna do turn disposition, lose game. We also want to display why the player lost the game. Something to think about. So when we have a turn disposition of lose game, we want to have the different lose game types, I think. So it's getting a little cluttered here, but let's see. Woman. Win types. Win type. 8 on break. Win type 8 on last. That's the most common. Win type. Opponent scratch. On break. Win type opponent scratch on last. Win type opponent foul on break. That's scratch on break. I have that. Alright, so I can set those. Turn disposition. Game turn. Win type. 0. Oh, I'd like to shift those over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Win type none. As an obsessive person, I need my type none. All right. All right. So where are we doing? Balls have stopped. That's not where we were. Turn disposition. Regardless, I think the win type is going to be 8 on last. No, they're going to be different based on that. But we could solve that with a ternary, but why would we? We already have logical splitting. So if in this logical splitting right here, if the player I almost want to wrap that in another function. Thinking about it. All right, so that's not a scratch on the last. What is the other win types that I have? There's another win type that I need here. Opponent scratch on last. Win type opponent sink 8 is what I need. I mean, it could be more descriptive. 8. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. So now if you're, that's the one we have to use here. And then the turn disposition. Turn disposition, win game. So basically just set the other player for the winner, right? I guess. I'm not sure if we need that or not. Win type 8 on last. This is the ulta goal. Sent endgame 8 ball. Then we have set endgame scratch. But this is not necessarily going to describe it. If game turn equals 0, then the win type is opponent scratch on break. Else, the only other time you can lose via a scratch is the scratch on last. Either way, you've lost the game. Okay. Now, when we have the 8 ball that's ubiquitous, we're always going to end the game. But if we have game turn 0, and ball type equals ball type Q, this is the end game for the scratch. But there's another condition here that we can pile on here. Or if ball type equals ball type 8, And I want to explicitly use parentheses here, but I don't know. I think I just want to say scratch on break. I need to get rid of this function. I don't use it anymore. All right. Hello. Nice to meet you. Mega Yuki. Yucky. I don't know what it is. If scratch on break. Or another function I'll create. Scratch on 8. I don't know what you mean by break. I don't think I've been at this for very long. Let's see, what's the time? Oh, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Maybe it is time for a break. Yeah, I do want to kind of see this game logic working, though. I've kind of done a lot here. Break the pot. I don't know what that means. Maybe the coffee pot, perhaps? I don't know what you mean. Don't know what you mean. Alright. Pretty much the rest of this is just going to be if ball not set, that, else, turn disposition foul there, break the balls in the middle. Let's see. So right now, I've got that commented out a little. It's going to be a little bit. Here's what I can do for you. I'll go ahead and stash my changes. Okay. And then here, I'll increase the force that we're exerting on the ball. Where the heck did the game go? I'm not even seeing the game. Did it exit immediately? Oh, okay, it exited immediately. So, num rows is not defined. Yeah. Range 5 ball triangle and billiards. It's interesting. It should be right here. It's weird. I don't know how I'm here. Here, don't save any of that. Yeah, there shouldn't be. I think I had a overriding issue. No problem. Oh no, it's still like that? I'm gonna get it fixed. Plus num rows. Should be as simple as that, right? Num in row. We can define that as well. I don't know if that's right. I'm not sure how I changed that without seeing it. All right. There we go. Do I do this as a hobby or do I code in full time? Both. I have a career as a software engineer at a blood bank. I don't do stuff like this though. This is the hobby part of it, and I don't really get to do this too much, and so it's a lot of fun for me. But I did not apply the force yet, so let's go ahead and smash it and double the force. See what happens. I haven't done this yet, actually. It's an interesting test. Alright. There we go. And then this ball spawns. Ignore that ball. And then these balls are going into each other, and it's something to do with the scale of it. Let's see. Smash. That was too fast for it to even pick it up. So a little bit of logic errors. And the ball's collision detection is not happening when it should every time. What do you do at the blood bank as a software engineer? So with a blood bank operations, it's like we have donors, and we have a laboratory, and we have shipments, and we have we operate in several states, and I work on the back end systems. So I do a lot of SQL for their database. We have a closed system that we've maintained for like 30 years, and but I've only been there for one, and if there's something that needs to change, like with the regulation changes, then the software has to change with it. So it's my job to be able to update the software and kind of know what to do. And then we're also adding new features onto it that make it possible for things like, registering donors a lot quicker. Like we've integrated tablets. There's a lot to do at a blood bank as a software engineer, but they don't all work the same. So I mean, this one probably is pretty unique in terms of the way that it has its own software department. I'm very lucky. I actually was trying to get this job for like 6 years, so I'm super lucky to have it. I actually have to go pretty soon so I can work on that stuff. All right, so we can make it a little bit faster too, or a little bit stronger, I should say, because this number right here actually represents the force. Let's just go crazy. Let's go change it to 160. I'm expecting to see stuff flying around because I also don't have gravity, other than for the player controller. That's like default. All right, that's not too bad. Yeah, I was expecting things to be flying off the map. I sank the cue ball. I don't have a current logic for queuing up the cue ball. Are you allowed to use Copilot at work? I have officially been approved for Copilot as far as I'm concerned. Copilot, it saves me so much time, especially with we use PLSQL, and that's not something that's very well. It's the resources available. There's not as much out there available for, like, let's say Python as for like Python. So I have to use it to help guide me because I'm bad at it. And it does a really good job of like giving me the basics, like the basic stuff that I forget a lot of the time. Like I don't have to use my brain power to remember all of the syntax structure of SQL. Copilot will just, if you're nice to it, it'll give you the nice stuff. I'm not a Python guy either. Like Python is not what I use a lot. It's not what I would choose, but it's pretty much the quickest thing I could get going with this Ursina engine. Python's sick, but it also sucks. Alright, so if you don't mind, I'm going to get back to trying to work on the game logic a little bit, because I would like to see something come of that before I sign off here And there's a lot that I've added in. Oh, hey, what's up, Saif? Okay, I gotta show Saif the balls and stuff. That's interesting. I think that's with all the game stuff on it right now. Yeah, okay, so that's cool. I actually, the game logic actually works pretty well. But let me restash it real quick. And then there's that num rows that I need to fix. And then num in row 5. So once I fix that, it should be back to working order. So I spent a little bit of my own time last night finishing up these balls, because I know it's boring to watch Blender. Okay, God. And then I changed a little bit about how the balls, how you hit the ball and stuff. And as you can see, there's still some issues with the physics. What's my name? My name is Adam. My name is Adam in real life. Coding things in real life is just kind of what I like to do. I fell off. The game engine is called Ursina in Python. And I'm not sure if I would use it again because it seems to have limitations. I've seen them if I put a lot of balls on the map and try to track them. I probably would want to get a little closer to the metal and go C++ and OpenGL maybe, although I've heard that thing where Jonathan Blow talks about it as if it's the devil, so I don't know. I don't know if I should go with OpenGL. The Blow has spoken. Alright, so I need to restore my stash. As if my mom had taken it away. And then the first thing I want to do is just make it to where it does work. And I think that when I call place cue ball, OpenGL is horrible. In what way is it horrible though? Because I've seen some pretty cool stuff come out of it. Is it horrible in that it's difficult to use, or is it horrible in some other aspect? So, place cue ball. We have physical entities. Cue ball here, but we're returning it, and I'm not sure if we're setting it. So we are setting it. But it looks like an int that it's returning, and that's not what we want. Because I guess the int is returned from this ball class. I'm not sure, actually. That's odd to me. If this is returning an integer, seems like it should be returning an object. It's difficult to use, large learning curve. I hate all the poly mesh stuff. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm not even familiar with poly mesh. There's this one guy who streams himself making this like really great looking first person shooter, but he has a lot of difficulty using OpenGL. He has a lot of difficulty and it looks really stressful. I'm still pretty new at making games, so I figured I would go easy on myself and use this baby library which, fun fact, is actually derived from a Disney game called Toontown. Toontown, you can look it up. I'm not going to show it here, but it was a kind of like an open world Disney game. Nice meeting you. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you have a moment, please go over to Twitch and follow me on Twitch. And I'm going to be streaming later at 12. And yeah, I appreciate you stopping by. Alright. So I need to figure out why we're referencing an integer. What's the craze with the Stanley Cup? I'm not sure. I'm not, I don't follow sports at all. All I do is pretty much just this. And so I wouldn't be the right person to ask, unfortunately. About the Stanley Cup. Okay, what was the error I was seeing? Also, have I inadvertently made a commit? I've been... Yes. No, I haven't. Okay, great. So we have cue ball in here. But it looks like the cue ball that we're actually importing is not maintaining its state between two modules. It looks like it comes out as 0 and it stays as 0. And when we click input, it's just going to be 0. Let's see. Isn't the cup you drank from the Stanley Cup? Mom's going crazy for it. No. This is like a Walmart knockoff version of it. Actually, this one is obviously my wife's. I couldn't find my own. But this is a good cup. It's good insulation or whatever. I could care less about it personally. I don't get into craze stuff. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I think the big brand is called Yeti. Yeti is charging $50 something for a cup, and that to me is crazy. I do know about Yeti. This one would be the generic brand that's much cheaper. I don't go crazy for cups. Why would I do that? All right. I need to figure out why I'm getting an integer, and actually what is the integer that I'm getting, so... No problem. I'm always happy to share my opinion. Alright, so hit cue ball is what we're trying to call. And then it's telling us that the cue ball is an integer at that point. And I honestly think that when we are initializing the game... Hello, Sujit. I don't know what that says. Apologize. I'm an English speaker, and it appears to not be English. And I don't have any translating on, but I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for joining in. Today we're making a pool game with Python. And this is what it will look like at the moment. Trying to integrate the game logic at the moment, but it is causing a slight difficulty. No problem though. The only thing I think that we need to do is here we'll go ahead and just place the cue ball. which will cause a mirror in resources for sure. No, it's still an integer, which is not good. What we need to do instead is identify the physical entity, and we'll make it number 0 and we'll just never delete it. That's going to be a nice cheap way to do it. So where we have place cue ball in main, we'll call that first. And really now these globals are meaningless. The cue ball will just be the first physical entity and it will never be removed. Or maybe it should be the last. Thinking about that actually. It would be easier to track as the last because it will be removed at certain points. It's just going to be immediately replaced by another cue ball, I think. So when we arrange the 15 ball triangle, we'll place the cue ball last. And when we are hitting the cue ball, instead of targeting cue ball, let's just get the last physical entity, like physical entities. Len, physical entities, yeah, this one. What time this take to make one game? Well, for an inexperienced game developer like me, a long time. And this is more like learning the process and understanding the problems, and so for me a long time, but I would say for the next time that I do this, I mean, if I was really going to try to develop a game, it would probably be using parts of an existing game, and for a game like this it would probably take an afternoon to be able to get everything hooked up. Especially if I use this existing game logic or somebody else's existing game logic. So not long at all for a game like this. But this has been more of a learning experience for me. Thank you for your question. Oh, excuse me. Alright, balls moving is false. Balls has stopped. Looking good, looking good. And so now the big change is that physical entities, this is not what we want actually. Physical entities 1, the last physical entity is the one that we will be targeting as the cue. Player is not defined. So player needs to be called in the game. And we may need to have 2 players, which would make sense to me. Now, this may cause a problem somewhere else. If I Control Shift F all the times that I need player, I need it in main. So here I can say also player here. Currently only have 1. So that way the player position is also in main. It's not really used, is it? Yeah. If it's not used, I'll just go ahead and... Okay. First person controller. Let's see, where do I get that? From this guy. And I'm just going to check for more references to player. Surprising that I don't have any. Interesting that it changed perspectives. Kind of like this perspective better. Yeah. It's pretty much where I'm pointing it to. Okay. All right. So this is a commit. This is a good commit right here. I also want to kind of figure out why it changed perspectives a little bit, because it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I like it though. I want to see it again actually. I can still fall off. Oh, I closed out again. All right. Anybody want to see any more, or because I could stay for a little bit longer if anybody wants me to. I can't see if anybody's watching, but yeah, let me know if you still want to see more. And I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll stop in a few minutes. I doubt that works. I doubt that works. Oh, it worked. Nice. I'll be honest, I didn't expect all this. I don't know what just happened there. And also that problem. Alright, well, this is a pretty good commit. It's not really a test of the game logic, but I'll commit it as a restore game after the game logic. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's see what's next. Actual game logic. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it right now. Especially since I'm not really hearing from anybody. It's all good. I gotta get my kids ready anyway. Alright guys, thank you for joining. I'll be back in what, almost 4 hours. 3 3/4 hours. So I hope to see you then. Until then, I'll see you next time.